Hey, what's going on everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Hopping right on into today's content. Today we're going to be doing some more tier ranking, and yes, we're going to be checking out some more signature guitars to check out, rank, react to, and give some commentary on, okay? So as always, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. This channel is super rad, and just thank you so much in advance for subscribing. And if you've already subscribed, thanks for hanging out with me, alright? So yeah, dude, these tier rankings are always a lot of fun to do, and I can't wait to dive on into today's. And I did a tier ranking video of some signature guitars about, I don't know, maybe a month ago, and that video did very, very well. And a lot of you guys were asking about some of the guitars that I failed to mention, and I wasn't failing to mention them. It's just like I didn't want that video to be like 55 minutes long or an hour. I'd just be saying the same thing over and over. So I brought back my signature guitar tier ranking for part 2, and today we're going to be knocking out the rest of them, okay? Well, maybe not the rest, just some more. But anyway, man, let's orientate you to my tier ranking template. Boom, up on your screen right now. My own personal tier rankings are labeled as follows. God tier, obviously, you know, the best of the best. Amazing, just sitting underneath of that. Solid is middle of the road for me, take it or leave it. Not for me is a guitar that, like, I really necessarily wouldn't ever really personally gravitate towards, but if I needed to use one, like if it was just laying around or if I was in like a studio or just sitting in with the band, I could, you know, get the job done, I guess. And then last but not least is Passage, is something that I would most likely never ever use and just want to use, purchase, and all the above. So with that being said, let's start ranking, alright? So let's just pick one at random here. Let's go with the Josh from North Lane signature guitar, the new soloist. Let's go with, boom, amazing. I love this guitar. I love Seafoam Green, and Josh has had his own B7 for a long time now. There's a Me and My Guitar video that's like a decade old now, and I'd like to think this guitar, this production model guitar, is based off of that guitar. It's a classic, you know, YouTube video that's been out for a long time. But anyway, man, Seafoam is such a rad color, and Jackson guitars are super rad. This has the Strat style headstock as well. It's a 7-string, which I'm not the biggest 7-string fan as of right now here, almost 2023. Don't really play 7 strings all that often anymore. And it also has an Evertune, which isn't exactly my favorite bridge of all time, but it stays in tune and it does the job, you know what I mean? So all that encompassing, it looks like a big ass, you know, awesome super Strat Seafoam Green with a Strat style headstock from Jackson. It's a win for me. Let's go with the Matt Heafy new lineup of Les Pauls. Now I'm putting the white one and the black one here in this ranking. I'm gonna go all the way up in God tier. Now this guitar just came out this year in 2022 from Epiphone, and it is awesome, man. It's way better, in my opinion, than the first run of the Matt Heafy signature guitars from Epiphone. The fact that he also has 7 strings as well with a longer scale length is amazing. Has the Fishmans, the signature Fishman Moderns, which is essentially a Fishman Modern with the gold stripe, if I'm not mistaken. That's what makes it a signature pickup for Matt specifically. But I love the blacked out knobs as well, match that with the gold hardware. It has a, you know, the white and the black options as well with this run of Les Pauls. Just very old school, classic, you know, Norland era looking Les Paul custom. But anyway, man, just super rad, dude. I love it so much. And yeah, Epiphone, I think Epiphone did an amazing job this year in general in 2022. But catering towards the metal guitar players, this Matt Heafy signature model is a God tier level of signature guitar. Let's go with the Comparison Adam D signature. I had one of these on the channel last year in 2021. I'm going to put it in amazing. It's a metal machine, no doubt about it, and it's awesome. The only reason why it's not really in God tier is, one, it doesn't have a neck pickup. I like neck pickups for a little bit of like that liquidy, you know, kind of just neck pickup sound, right? Like, who doesn't love that? But obviously this guitar is more or less for a rhythm guitar player, generally speaking. One could argue, maybe not, I don't know. But I'm not really a fan of the string through Tune-o-matic style bridge, whatever that's called. I kind of like, if it's a string through body, I kind of like the more or less like the hip shot vibe. But also, if it has a Tune-o-matic bridge, I like a stop tail, like a Les Paul. Anyway, that being said, it's an awesome guitar. It's a little expensive. Comparison guitars are really, really expensive. But apart from that, the craftsmanship and just like the sheer quality of the instrument, all Comparison guitars I've heard are amazing. I've only played one, this one right here, that again I was borrowing from a friend. And yeah, man, that Adam D guitar was super amazing and it sounded great. I had it down to drop B for the time being on this channel, and I remember very, very vividly how articulate and precise that guitar was. You know, the Fishman pickups are always amazing, and yeah, it's a sick metal machine, dude. Let's go with the Alexi Laiho signature. Ooh, now he has different variations of his signature guitars. I'm going to put it in not for me. The only reason why it's not in hard pass for me is because it's purple. Purple guitars are sick, dude. I like purple a lot. It's like top 3 favorite colors for me. But that being said, I'm not really a V guy. I'm not really a floating Floyd Rose guitar player all that often. I'm not a super shredder all that often, hardly at all. I don't know. It's just a little too angular for me. You know what I mean? You guys know my style. I don't have to explain myself. You know, Alexi obviously was an amazing player and a pioneer for like the mid 2000s guitar players, right? Like really pushing the envelope and, you know, pushing guitar player into the forefront during that time. And, you know, his life was tragically cut short, you know, I think it was last year. But regardless, man, if you like his guitars, that's amazing. But for me personally, it's just really not something that I would gravitate towards, but that doesn't take away from anything that the man did in his lifetime. You know, he's a legend. So I love his playing. I love what he did for the community. I love what he did for the metal genre as a whole, but, you know, just not necessarily the biggest fan of his signature guitar. And that's okay, right? Here's an easy one. Here's a little layup for us all. Jim Root Stratocaster, God tier. I mean, I think the Stratocaster that Jim Root came out with Fender in like 2010 is, you know, just the best of the best in terms of Fender signature guitars, especially for the genre music that I like, that is metal and hard rock. Out of all the Jim Root guitars that I've had in my lifetime, the Stratocaster, the white one right there, is the only one that I kept. Just because it's just an amazing instrument. I mean, it stays in tune, sounds great. The mahogany body with a little bit more weight to it just sounds amazing with the EMGs, whether it's the stock 8160 or what I have is the signature, the signature Demonum EMG pickups. I mean, this guitar is just, you know, obviously one of my favorites, as you can tell, as you can tell by all the wear that it has on it. But regardless, man, I love what Jim and Fender did with those guitars, and they're still out to this day, and those guitars are going on like a decade and a half old now, which is pretty amazing. But anyway, man, yeah, dude, Jim Root Strat, no brainer, God tier. Ooh, this might be a hot take. Sinister Gates, signature Schecter. I'm gonna go and pass, dude, big pass. Honestly, everybody, there's really nothing I really like about this guitar at all. And that goes for all the different models. And the only thing I really like about it is the Sustainiac, but a Sustainiac isn't enough for me to, you know, put it anywhere other than pass. I mean, I really don't like the headstock shape at all. I think the headstock shape is really, really interesting. Not really a fan of the giant Death Bat logo because then it just makes it a huge, just Avenged Sevenfold, you know, flag. It's a huge Avenged Sevenfold billboard. I think it says Sin on the fretboard as well. Way too much, you know what I mean? One thing I like about signature guitars is where they're signature guitars, but they're not like just blasted with the band logo or the artist logo or whatever. Like, I think that's just a little bit too much for me. Match that with the pinstripes and the floating Floyd. That's my dog drinking water, in case you didn't know. Very loud. Okay. Anyway, yeah, dude, just, I don't know, man. Just everything about it. The pinstripe, the Death Bat, the headstock, the Sin on the fretboard. It's just not for me, man. Just really, really just a bit too much, and yeah, hard pass. I mean, I love Avenged. I used to be obsessed with Avenged, like when Live in the LBC came out back in the day. And after Nightmare, the album, I kind of lost interest in the band, and they really haven't been doing all that much ever since, really, if you think about it. Maybe, what, 2 albums in like a decade? So anyway, man, I love Sinister Gates, I love Avenged, but just not really a fan of that guitar specifically. Boom, here we go. This will be fun. Let's go with the Frederick 8-string Ibanez from Meshuggah. I'm going to go solid. I wanted to put it up above that, but, I mean, it's so sick, dude. Like, don't get it twisted. These guitars, you know what? I'm going to change it. I'm going to go amazing. You know what I mean? I'm going to go amazing. I was going to put it in solid, be like, oh, well, it's okay. But nah, dude, this thing's pretty rad. It's a monster. It's a beast. Yeah, dude, like, if you're gonna get an 8-string, I think this is the one you should get, right? Like, I don't know, man. These things are just metal machines, just absolute beasts of guitars. Not exactly, like, the most pretty-looking thing in the world. They're pretty, like, I don't know, lackluster, in my opinion. Not, like, the flashiest or the coolest looking. But they look sick all at the same time. I don't know. I could be totally contradicting myself. But just because it's from arguably my top 5 favorite metal bands of all time, that is Meshuggah, and it's just, like, such a gnarly-looking beast of a guitar, I'm gonna put it in amazing. Epiphone Wino Jerry Cantrell. I'm gonna put it in solid. Hit or miss for me. It's just middle of the road. Obviously, I love Jerry Cantrell. Alice in Chains is my favorite grunge band of all time, and I think they're the best and the heaviest by far. Argue with me down below in the comments if you shall choose to do so. But yeah, man, like, like I said, kind of with the Matt Heafy, like Epiphone killed it this year. And the fact that they offered the wino in a more affordable range is awesome, you know what I mean? That being said, the wine red color, just in general, is arguably one of my least favorite finishes for a guitar. I think like a deep, rich red of a guitar finish is like, I think I would rather choose almost every other color except maybe like forest green. You know what I mean? Like I think wine red's pretty boring for me personally. Like, you know, don't come at me. I'm just not really a fan of that color. But that being said, you know, having the ability to get a piece of Jerry Cantrell, you know, memorabilia or swag or, you know, signature guitar, whatever you want to call it, I think it's pretty cool, man. So middle of the road for me, solid. I love Les Pauls, obviously. I love Les Paul Customs, and I love Alice in Chains. So for me, makes sense to put it in solid. Rick Beato signature double cut Les Paul Jr., I think it's called, or Les Paul Special, or whatever that thing's called. I don't know, man. It's in hard pass. I think it's pretty, not for me. You know what I mean? It's like the epitome of dad rock, but not cool dad rock. Like, when I think of dad rock, I think of, like, cool Strats and cool Les Pauls and cool Explorers and cool Flying Vs and, you know, cool SGs, you know, stuff like that. But, like, this is, like, pretty bland. If it wasn't for the color's kind of cool. But apart from that, I'm really not a fan of this guitar at all. It's just, it's too plain, you know what I mean? And it doesn't scream, like, sick at all. It just looks like, I don't know, you play the kind of music that Rick Beato plays and or teaches. And that's fine. But, you know, I'm just one man with an opinion. It's just not necessarily something that I would ever really want to play. You know, congrats to Rick, and, you know, he rightfully deserves a signature guitar and a lot of praise. He's an amazing producer and teacher and content creator, all the above, and I look up to him a lot, but just not really a fan of his signature guitar this go round. Jared James Nichols Epiphone Les Paul Custom God Tier. This guitar is sick. The reason why it's up in God Tier is because of how unique it is. Jared is an amazing player, and the thing I love about Jared the most is he is a minimalist through and through. Like one pickup, one P90, and plays with his fingers and gets so many sick tones from volume knob manipulation and tone knob manipulation. That's really inspiring and really cool, man. I like effects. Who doesn't like effects? Effects are super rad. Like, who doesn't love stomping on pedals and shit, right? But Jared has the ability to get a really signature sound with these two things right here. And because of how dynamic and how amazing he is with his fingers and his hands, he's able to have a really oddly specific signature guitar that coincides and adheres to his style of playing. Not only that, but the gold top Les Paul Custom with a big giant baseball bat neck and a big full thickness body. Super sick, dude. Really cool guitar, and I'm really stoked and happy that everybody seems to love these guitars because Jared's a sweetheart and he's a really amazing, awesome player that inspires me every single day. So, all that encompassing, putting his signature guitar in God Tier. Adam Jones signature Les Paul Standard Silver Burst. If you asked me when this initially came out, I'd put it in not for me. I'm going to put it in solid. Just because of how much I love Silver Burst. And if you want to get a Silver Burst Gibson Les Paul, this is probably the cheapest you'll be able to get one. Brand new. Well, definitely brand new, but just in general. $3,000 for a standard guitar is an insane price tag. However, I'm a sucker for Norlin era guitars, and just, you know, here's a 78 Les Paul Custom sitting right there that I'm working on. But I love that era of Gibson. I think it's my favorite era by far. And the fact that, you know, Gibson at least is trying to offer us something that's somewhat affordable. Yeah, right, affordable. I don't know, man. I mean, Adam Jones is sick and Tool's sick, but it's solid because they're starting to, like, oversaturate their own market, similar to Dave Mustaine. It seems like they're going a little too heavy-handed with Adam Jones, especially with the Epiphone Les Paul Customs that were just released, like, 2 days ago. Anyway, man, staying on topic here, the Gibson Les Paul Standard Silver Burst is a beautiful guitar. It has the right teardrop finish, not the outer fade or whatever you want to call it. The only reason why I wouldn't put it any higher is because it is in fact a signature guitar, which may be contradicting to the whole idea of this video. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I just wish this was a standardized model and a standardized finish option. But because it's a signature guitar, it's down below and solid. If this guitar was not a signature guitar, I put it in God Tier. Does that make sense? Yeah, just the fact that it's a standard, I don't know, it's kind of weird because Adam Jones plays a Silver Burst Les Paul Custom, not really a standard. It's kind of confusing. That's why it's just like middle of the road for me. But regardless, the fact that Gibson has a modern Silver Burst that's somewhat affordable for the Gibson demographic, I'll put it in solid. Solid guitar. Gus G. Jackson signature guitar, hard pass. This guitar is very 1987, and I was not even thought of yet in 1987. You know what I mean? Like, I came much later, and I missed the whole 80s wave of, you know, super shredders and X's and crazy looking guitars. I couldn't pull this guitar off. You know what I mean? Like, I don't play that style of music. I don't play, like, you know, 80s hair metal or anything like that. And regardless of what year it is, you know what I mean? Like, this is just very 80s to me. That's just how I view it. Anything that looks like an X or a star is a bit too much for me. I like a little bit more of a traditionalist looking guitar. So for me, I'm definitely going to put it in hard pass. Phil Collin PC1 from Def Leppard and Jackson. It's either an amazing or God tier, I think. I want to put it in amazing. I don't know. It's not in God tier because I just never really wanted to buy one. I mean, I think they're amazing. I love super strats and all that, and I love guitars with Sustainiacs and all that stuff. But that being said, I think it's not in God tier because of how damn expensive these things are. USA Jacksons are just really, really hard to come by and damn near impossible. But regardless, I think Phil Collin is an amazing artist and an amazing player, and he's like always super ripped, and he's like, you know, 60 years old, and he's still up there crushing it. It looks awesome. He's an amazing player. He plays with like 13s and middle picks, and just I love everything about his vibe on stage and just how he carries himself as an artist. I love his PC1 because of the Sustainiac, because of the FU tone hardware, because of the Strat style headstock with the Jackson logo, just like the Josh from North Lane guitar. I think it's like the same vibe. Like anytime it has the Strat headstock with Jackson, I think it looks super rad. Same with Charvel too, right? Yeah, PC1s are super rad. I can't afford one, but they're cool to look at. You know what I mean? They're cool to look at and cool to listen to Phil talk on like rig rundowns and shit. So yeah, dude, awesome guitar. I'm definitely putting it in amazing. John 5 Telecaster. I don't know, man. I don't like Tellies, but I like John 5. And I like the headstock. I'll put it in solid. Now, these are like more or less custom shop guitars more often than not, like $4,000 or $5,000 guitars that nobody can afford except John 5, but he probably is giving them anyway. But something I love about John 5, I can vividly remember John 5 was really big in like Guitar World ads a lot in like the mid to early 2000s when I first started playing when I was like 10, 11 years old. And I always just remember seeing John 5 with like his lipstick smeared, with his Telecaster and his crazy tattoos. You know, at the time they were like, you know, he was kind of a, I don't know, not a pioneer, but tattoos weren't really all that. I don't know, I just remember him being like really scary looking, like all sleeved out, lipstick, makeup with like a Telecaster. It was really weird. Like, I don't know, being 10, 11 years old, I would think you would have like a BC Rich Warlock or something like that. But he had a Telecaster with that really crazy looking headstock. And that image and that I don't know, yeah, just that image in those ads and just always seeing him around in the magazines that I had really stuck with me. And I always like was really terrified of John 5, which is funny thinking back now because if you actually listen to him talk and, you know, just hear him carry himself and conduct himself, he's like really articulate and well-versed in, you know, music and just a soft-spoken gentleman. So anyway, man, regardless, staying on topic here, his signature itself, I really like the headstock. That's what separates it for me personally. If it wasn't for the headstock, I'd put it in like not for me or pass, but I don't know, just something about that headstock looks so weird and so wrong, yet so right. And like I said, that nostalgia is always with me with the John 5 Telecaster. So, cool little story, you know, from my youth. I don't know if that made any sense or if that is even relevant to my ranking, but I just wanted to share that with you. Yeah, I just remember John 5 always being in Guitar World magazines as a kid, and yeah, his Telecasters were always with him, and for the nostalgia alone, I'll put it in solid. Misha Mansoor Juggernaut, I'm gonna put it in amazing. Now, I remember when these came out like a decade or so ago now, I was super stoked, and I still am to this day. I think at the time, Jackson was really known for like the floating Floyds and the floating soloists and the floating King V's, floating meaning the bridge. But this was like the first time, to my recollection, I don't think it literally was, but I just remember this being one of the first times where Jackson was offering a production model guitar with a hardtail. That was big for me because you guys know me, I love hardtails more often than not, right? And I've always loved Jacksons, but they just, at the time, just really weren't catering towards my vibe, my style. And throughout the years, they've slowly incorporated a lot of different shapes that were my style, like the Marty Friedman, the Mark Morton. I'd put the Misha Mansoor juggernaut in that category as well, where it wasn't as angular and weaponry-esque with a floating Floyd and all that. This was a hardtail, more of a rhythm-based guitar player's dream, and I love that. Match that with the awesome tops and the bare knuckle pickups and the roasted maple fretboard and neck. Bolt-on, I love bolt-ons. All that encompassing was a really cool change from Jackson for me personally as a fan of Jackson guitars. So yeah, I love their signature guitars with Misha Mansoor for sure. Billy Corgan new signature Reverend. Pass. I don't like this guitar at all. I like the first one better with the different pick guards. There was like 3 or 4 different pick guards. You guys know what I'm talking about. This one right here, the second iteration, I think is a huge step down for me personally. I really don't like this guitar. I think the other guitars, the first models with Reverend, had more finishes and more colors, and I thought they looked cooler. I like these pickups with the etched kind of design. I think that looks kind of cool, very psychedelic, very Billy Corgan. But for me, I like the first rendition of his signature guitar over this one. Jim Root Jazzmaster V4 God Tier. This one has a very special place in my heart, obviously, right? You guys know that. Thing I love about this one more than anything is the fretboard markers, the block inlays. I said it to Jim himself, and I'll say it right here. That was a huge critique for me personally. I love all of his signature guitars, but the block inlays just made it pop so much more. So when he did that with the V4, I was like, yes, dude, this is exactly what I was, envisioning and hoping for. Yeah, man, I love this guitar so much. It has a thinner neck profile, binding on the neck, block inlays, the signature demonums, all the above. Very classy, very cool guitar. And yeah, man, can't believe that guitar's over 3 years old now. You believe that shit, man? Damn, time's flying. Very cool guitar. Sarah Longfield Strandberg 8-string. I'm going to put in solid. Sarah's an amazing guitar player. She rips, dude, right? Similar to what I was saying about the Sinister Gates, though, the one thing that's a bit of a drawback for me personally as a fan and a consumer and just somebody who loves guitars, this may be a little bit too much like Sarah Longfield. Because if my memory serves me correctly, her original and her original Strandberg was hand-painted, right? So these, I don't think she painted all these. I think these are probably just like a veneer or like a print, a graphic over top all these guitars. I could be way off on that. But regardless, it's a little too Sarah Longfield for me. You know what I mean? Like maybe a little more subtle with the paint would have been better for me personally, but this is just a little too much of like a carbon copy and too much of a replica rather than a signature guitar. I think more often than not, people would agree that like signature guitars are best done when like you as the individual player who buys one can still make it your own while still having the signature guitar idea in the background, you know what I mean? Like where you can still have it be like the artist but still make it your own. That's why these, again, are so desirable because they wear in so well and you can mod them and you can paint them and you can do all this stuff to them. But when they're so heavily like marketing the artist, it could be a bit detracting. So I love Strandberg guitars. I love how they sound. I love how they play with the crazy kind of trapezoidal neck and all that. But the paint, although it looks cool and it's very Sarah Longfield, it may be a little bit too much for me personally. So for that, I'm going to put it in solid. Henrik Donhage, I believe that's how you say that. This new signature Charvel. I would put it in amazing, but I'm going to put it in solid because of the relic job. I think the relic job would have been way cooler if it was a thin skin paint job and then the player could relic them themselves. I think that would be even cooler. But they're like relic and stock relic and all look the same from the factory. I think is a cool idea, but not exactly that cool when they all look the same. Again, kind of like what I was just saying 30 seconds ago. When guitars have the ability to take in the characteristics of the actual player that buys them and plays them themselves, that's what makes it really cool. So again, if this was a thin skin signature Charvel with the top mounted Floyd and it wore in really, really quickly to the player as they played him, I think that would have made this a god tier guitar. But regardless of the paint job, all the aesthetics and all the features are there for me personally. I love a top mounted Floyd over Floyds any day of the week, 10 out of 10 times. So for that alone, this guitar is awesome, but just a little too much relicing for me personally. Just wish we could relic them ourselves as the player, you know? Getting down to the wire here, we got a Dave Mustaine signature V from Gibson. I don't know if I did this on the first go round. I don't know, dude. I'll have to double check. I don't think I did. But anyway, let's say, regardless, it's here now. I'm going to put it in amazing. I think these, you know what? Nah, god tier. Screw that. God tier. I think this is awesome. I've said it a million times on this channel, and yeah, I hope I didn't do this already, but if I did, so what, right? The Mustaine lineup is really cool, man. Gibson's catering towards metal players, and like, even though Gibson guitars are way more expensive than most people would like to pay for guitars, this in turn is a great thing because then Epiphones come out and Kramers come out and all the more affordable models come out. So like, these are like the flagships in my opinion, the Gibson guitars, but then that just means everybody else down below, Epiphone and Kramer, are gonna get something as well. So this was the Catalyst that came out in like 2021 sometime. I love the silver one over the green one and the natural looking one. I think the natural one is a Gibson, but there's also like a Kramer as well. I don't know, it's getting confusing. There's way too many flying V's out there for Gibson and Mustaine. I think the silver one's my favorite. I love how it's a 24 fret, I think it's 25.5-inch scale, so I think that's awesome as well. Yeah, dude, I've talked about this guitar a lot, and I'm not even the biggest Megadeth or Mustaine fan, but I love what Gibson's doing with Mustaine, so God tier. Dave Davidson Jackson Warrior, boom, amazing. Now you might be thinking, how the hell is this an amazing when it's totally not your vibe? I know, it's a 7-string, it's a weapon of a guitar, and it's got a floating Floyd. But the Jackson Warrior guitars are so sick, dude. Ever since I saw Jim Root play one and Wes Borland play one back in the day, respectively, yeah, they've always just been like on my radar, and they're just so like cool because they're so rare. You don't really see Jackson Warriors all that much. Yeah, so just, I don't know, anytime any Warrior in general, whether it's a Dave Davidson model or not, I love it, dude. So regardless, man, it's going in amazing. Jackson Warriors are sick, dude. So I'm just gonna put it up there for now, okay? Sean Long, While She Sleeps signature Charvel. Let's put it in amazing. Yeah, dude, this guitar's super rad, man. I love how it has a yellow EMG. It's like so random, but so cool all at the same time. Like, what a random thing to do, just one bridge pickup that's yellow. That's rad, man. I mean, Charvel guitars make awesome guitars, obviously. Anything that's a super strat, super cool. Jim actually got to play one of these not too long ago, and I think that was super cool and such a nice gesture to Sean. So yeah, dude, it was a cool thing. So definitely an amazing guitar. And last but not least, we have a super strat, a Marco Svefgoli, I believe that's how you say this. Forgive me if I'm saying that incorrectly. Signature Charvel super strat, purple with EMGs. Boom, God tier. This thing is beautiful, man. I've said this a million times on this channel about this guitar. I'm really not familiar with this gentleman's work, and I need to be educated on that ASAP. But he created an amazing guitar with Charvel. A purple burst with a quilt and or flame top. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but like, it looks so sick, dude. Like I said a couple times already in this video, purple's one of my favorite colors of all time. It's like top 3, up behind like silver burst and like seafoam green, and then like purple I think would be up there. So yeah, man, a super strat with a purple burst and EMGs, it's super rad, dude. So yeah, I really love this Charvel a lot. So everybody, we did it. Another tier ranking of some signature guitars. Whew, I'm tired, man. That was a lot of talking. I think we did like over 20 guitars today. And yeah, man, I had a lot of fun explaining these. As you can see, we have a lot of amazings and a decent amount of past guitars, and only one not for me, the Alexi guitar. So yeah, man, let me know what you guys think of my rankings and my tiers and my commentaries and my opinions and all these. I'd love to hear from you guys. And as always, man, these are just my opinions, dude, and I just love sharing my opinions. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong. I'm just here hanging out talking about guitars. It ain't so bad, right? So with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're brand new to my channel, be cool, man. Be sure to subscribe before you leave, all right? Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay metal. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.